Welcome back, everybody. Today's tutorial, we are going to be taking a look at this breakdancing footage. We are going to isolate the dancer from the background, take the background into Photoshop, create some new murals on the wall using AI, and then we're going to bring those back into After Effects, add some really cool effects to the dancer, and then meld it all together in After Effects. Thank you for coming back. This is Julio, your motion sidekick. Now let's get started. First thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and bring in the footage of our breakdancer. So if you double click on the project panel, or you can hit Command I. This is a clip that I downloaded from Pexels. Pexels is a website that you can download royalty-free footage for your projects. And so I just searched for dancer, and then he came up right down, there he is, right there. Alan Moss. Thank you, Alan, for this clip. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in the dancer. And then I'm just going to drag that clip down into the new composition icon. So that way it keeps the frame rate, it keeps the resolution, it takes on everything from that clip. So now with that selected, I'm going to double click and I'm going to select my rotoscope. First thing we want to do is we want to isolate the dancer from the background. So with the first frame selected, I'm just going to go in here and draw what should be selected in this part of the dancer. Now you see when I let go of the mouse, there was a lot that automatically drew in there or highlighted for us, and that's okay. What we want to do now is if you hold down the Option key, it turns into the red circle. So we're going to be deselecting that area. So we're going to deselect that area. If you hold down Command and click and drag, this makes your brush bigger or smaller. So we want to make this really small here. Hold down Option, and then we're just going to click and drag right in between the shoes, so that way that's not included. Okay, now that we have that, let's go ahead and make our brush size a little bit bigger here. So the first frame is important. You want to take your time with it, because the better job you do selecting this first frame, After Effects is going to know better what you want selected as part of this mask. All right, so let's go ahead and deselect the shadow down here. So when you have this green brush, that's going to be adding to your selection. So we want to go ahead and add the rest of the shoe there. And then if you hold down Option, that's going to, again, if you hold down Option, that's going to deselect. Oh, that's going to deselect any part of the shoe that you don't want. So we want to make sure that we're grabbing every part of the shoe there. And again, you want to be thorough at this point. Take your time with it. And even if it automatically highlighted and made it part of the mask, you still want to go in and draw it, because then Adobe's not trying to guess what you want included in the mask. It's going to be like, okay, this is absolutely needed in as part of the mask. So I'm just going to draw as much as I can of this guy here, including the hair, face, head, knees and toes. Okay, arms, that's great. So I'm going to go hold down Option again. That's going to, I'm going to hold down Command, and I'm going to click and drag on my mouse to make my brush just a little bit smaller, so that way I can select all of his hand here. And you can go ahead and zoom in. Let's go ahead and go to 200. If you hold down spacebar, it gives you this hand icon, and you can drag your footage around. Now you can also click and drag in between your timeline and the footage, and that'll give you a bigger window to work in. So again, I'm going to hold down Command, make that brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to make sure that all of this is included. And you'll see that this is taking a little bit of time, but trust me guys, in the end it's going to be worth it, because once we hit play, After Effects is going to go through and analyze every frame of the footage. And the more information you give it saying that this is what I want included in the mask, the better job and the easier your job is going to be down the road. Again, you want to make sure that all the parts of the shoe are included. And if it grabs too much, just hold down Option and deselect it. So now that we have the first frame, let's go ahead and zoom in here. Now that we have our first frame, let's go ahead and hit Page Down. That'll take us to our next frame. And on the second frame, we just want to make sure that everything that's supposed to be selected is selected. And you see what I mean here? The more work you do on that first frame, the better job it's going to do with all the subsequent frames. Now hit page down again on your keyboard. That'll take you to the next frame. And let's just make sure again. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we get the entire body here. And I'm just going to keep pressing page down just a few times here, just to make sure that everything is looking great. It looks like that rotoscope tool is doing, oh, let's go back a frame. So if you hit page up, that'll take you back a frame. And the reason I did that is because now you see that part of his shoe has come outside of the mask. So we want to make sure that we include that again. So go ahead and go back to your green brush, select that area there, and select that area up there. That looks good, and a part of his shoe down here as well. Okay, so now go ahead and page down again on your keyboard. That looks great. Page down. Oh, we lost part of his shoe there. So again, just little by little, and trust me, this seems tedious, but if you were around a few years ago, and maybe this is showing my age, but I remember back my day, we had to get out the chisel and the tablet, and we had to do all this by hand. It was pretty, yeah, it was hard. So anyways, all that to say that this is pretty easy. The tool does a great job of automatically going through and selecting every frame that it needs to. And it looks like it's doing a great job. So I'm just going to hit spacebar, and I'm just going to let After Effects go through and analyze every frame automatically. I'm going to hit stop here, and I'm going to go back a few frames because again, I saw his shoe. You'll see what I'm talking about here. I'm just pushing page down to go frame by frame. This is tedious, guys. I know. Stick with it. Now, After Effects is really doing all the work here. All I'm doing is pushing page down to go to the next frame. He's getting out of frame there a little bit, so let's go ahead and bring that down. Yeah, this guy makes it look so easy. Makes me think I can break dance. I could do that. I could do that move. I don't know. Maybe back in my day, after I put my stone tablet down. Oh, there was something right there. Let's go ahead and get rid of that little goober. Now that you've gone through and drawn every frame, what we want to do is we want to freeze or we want to lock in all those frames. So that way, every time you play back that video, After Effects doesn't have to go through and redraw each frame. So this way, it's going to lock it in and say, okay, this is the selection that we want. So it's just going to take a few seconds and go through this. Great. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and close that window. And now you'll see that you have your dancer here. I'm just going to press space bar just to preview that. You can see how good of a job After Effects does with this, and pretty automatic. I mean, we had to go through frame by frame, but that was really just to double check that we were keeping it honest. All right, let's go ahead and go back to our dancer here, and then we're going to minimize that. I'm going to hit it Command Y to bring in a gray solid. I guess really this could be any color you want. So let's just go ahead and do OK. Let's bring that down underneath our dancer. And actually, I'm going to make this, well, that's a good color. So what we're looking for is just the outline of the dancer, and it looks pretty clean, but we can clean that up just a little bit more. So click on the dancer layer over in your roto brush. Under reduce chatter, we're going to bump that up to, let's say, 10%. And let's actually put this on a still just so we can see what's going on here. Okay, there's quite a bit of motion blur going on here. So just for reference, this was back down to 0%. we are going to bump this up to, let's say, 12%. And then we're going to shift edge. The shifting the edge, that's either going to shrink the edge, and you can, if you watch real close, ooh, that was pretty extreme. So you can really see what it's doing here. Or you can grow it, and you can kind of see the other extreme there. So what we want to do is we just want to go about negative, probably about 10 or 15. And then we also want to use motion blur. And just keep an eye out here on the leg so we can see what this is doing. Reduce chatter, I'm going to take that back down to 8. And then motion blur, I'm going to take that up to 12. Shutter angle, I'm going to bump that down to 100. Let's actually go down to 90. Decontaminate edge colors, we want to do that as well. And then there we go. Okay, so just to summarize, what we did is we shifted the edge inside. So we shrunk the edge just a little bit. We'd reduced the chatter by 8%. We added some motion blur. We gave it 12 samples per frame instead of 8. That's just going to give it a little bit more. If you see these lines, so that's the 12 samples that we're talking about. The shutter angle, we bumped that down to 90. I believe this footage is actually shot at 25 frames per second. So normally you want to go about twice the shutter, or sorry, twice the frame rate for the shutter angle. So we just went to 90. The amount, and then we also wanted to decontaminate edge colors. The amount was 36%, and then we extended where smooth, and then increased radius. Really, we don't have to do that. So we can take that back down to 0 or 6 where it was, and you can see a little bit of difference here around his ankle. So now if we preview this, press spacebar to preview it, and hopefully that's going to give you a little bit more motion blur around where it should be motion blurred, and that's going to give you less chatter. Let's just make sure here. Yeah, the chatter, let's go ahead and bump that up to 15%. Let's go ahead and try that now. And what the chatter is just here around, you can see where it's a little jaggedy. That's the chatter. Now you can see it quite a bit because we're looking at one still frame, but once this actually plays in real time, we'll be able to tell what's actually going on with this. I think what I also wanted to do is bump up the feather to 10. Hit spacebar to preview that animation, and let's take a look at what we have. Let's just go to fit. Now that After Effects has gone through and separated our dancer from the background, this looks pretty good. Let's leave the dancer. Do not delete the roto brush. You will lose all the work you just done. So let's go ahead and just unhide it for now. This will make After Effects a lot smoother, a lot quicker. And what we're looking for now is we're looking for a frame that we can take over to Photoshop. And I'm just looking for a frame where he's taking up the least amount of room. So now we're going to take this footage into Photoshop, and we're going to create a clean frame where we can draw out our graffiti up here on our background, and we can do some other elements if we choose to down on the floor. And then we're going to bring it back into After Effects just to meld it all together. All right, so now that we have our frame, we're going to hit B for beginning of the playhead, or I'm sorry, B for the beginning of the preview area, and then N for the end of the preview area. And then we're going to hit Command Control M, and this is going to open up a render queue. Under the output module, we are going to change this over to a JPEG sequence, and then click OK. We're going to put this in our breakdancer still, and then we are going to name this dancer, click save, and then render that. Now we are going to find that image, right click, and I'm going to open with Photoshop. Okay, now that I have this image open within Photoshop, I'm going to grab my Object Select tool. I'm going to select the dancer. It'll take a second here. And then I'm just going to go into Generative Fill, and I'm going to type in Remove. And Adobe Photoshop is going to go through, and with the power of AI, it's going to generate a clean background for us. No, it's not. It's going to create this weird person here. Let me try that one more time. Maybe we don't even type in remove. Maybe we just hit enter. There we go. Much better. So you see here in this window, this variation, it actually gave you 3 options. So you can click through them and you can see number 1 and number 3 are actually pretty good. I think I like number 3. If you don't like them, you can always click on this generate button and it's going to go through and generate 3 more options for you. And you can see that it did actually a really good job with those 3 as well. I think I still like this one. So we're going to keep that one. I'm just going to get rid of this layer. So I'm just going to hit C for the crop tool, and then I'm going to give ourselves a little bit more room here. If you notice back in After Effects, the original footage actually moved around. The camera moved around a little bit. And so when we take this back into After Effects, we want to motion track that camera, and we want to make this background move with it, but we also don't want to run out of room here when it does move. So now that you have that extended, just click on Generative Expand and then Generate. And again, you see that it's going to give you 3 different options for the exterior here, the edges of the frame. And I think I don't really like any of them. So I'm going to hit Generate one more time. I hit the wrong button here. I hit the grid button instead of the generate. So I'm just going to hit that grid button again. And here are the 3 new images that it created for us. I think I like that one the best. So I'm going to go ahead and export that. So I'm going to go under File, Export, Export As. And then I'm going to save this as a JPEG. The quality, I'm going to make it as high as possible. And the dimensions, I'm still going to keep the same. Go to Export. And then I'm going to go to Breakdancer still. And I'm just going to call this set extension.jpg. Go ahead and click Save. Now let's head over to our internet. And here we want to bring up Adobe's Firefly. Under Firefly, we want to go to text to image, and then we want to bring in a reference. So go ahead and click reference, and then under upload image, we want to go ahead and bring in the set extension JPEG. Click open, continue, and then under strength, we want to keep that as similar as possible. And then under style, I'm just going to leave that where it's at. And then under prompt, we're just going to say add graffiti of a dragon, the gray wall. All right, we're just going to copy that just in case something funky happens. We can reset it. Now, this little button down here, if you can't come up with a good prompt, you can usually click this icon here and it'll help you write a better prompt, or it'll give it more detail, so that way Firefly knows a little bit better what to do. If you can't think of a prompt, you can always click this icon down here and Adobe Firefly will help you out with the prompt. It'll write a much worded out prompt that you can use if you want, or you can just go ahead and type what you want. Let's go ahead and click generate and we'll see what comes up. Whoa, that looks super cool. All right, let's go ahead and go into under style. I think I want to give this a little bit more style. Okay, under style, let's go ahead and make it something like this. Let's try that and see what comes up. That's kind of interesting. Now, you do have to, every time you generate these images, it does take your credits, so be careful on what you're doing there. I want to make this look really cool for you guys, so I'm just ignoring those credits for now, because we want to come up with the best possible dragon here that we can. Something I didn't do is I should have set this to widescreen. That way it matches our aspect ratio of our clip. So let's go ahead and go to widescreen. These dragons are actually really cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit generate one more time. And hopefully now that they're 16 by 9s, we'll come up with something similar. Okay, so I've generated a bunch of images here. I think I'm going to take just a few of these, some of my favorites. Yeah, let's try downloading this. Let's go ahead and click on upscale all. And this is going to give us upscaled. And let's go ahead and click download all. And then click save. Oh, save, and save. All right, now if we go back to Photoshop, let's go ahead and grab our 4 images and then bring those in Photoshop here. Hit Command T for transform. And then if you hold down Option, it's going to scale from the center. And we want to scale that all the way up. And then we want to make sure that this is going to be in line with our horizon line back here, where the floor meets, where the ground meets the wall. We could probably take that down just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And we'll bring that in right about there. And now what we want to do is we want to grab our selection tool, our marquee tool, and then we want to draw a box around our artwork just like that. And then we want to hit, let's just make sure that one of them is selected, and then we're going to draw a mask around it, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing. Actually, we're going to copy this mask. If you hold down Option, you'll get this double arrow when you click and drag, and that's going to copy the mask. And we'll just copy the mask for all 4 of those layers. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now that we have that, we are going to export this. So I'm going to hit Command Option Shift W, and this is going to do an export as. I'm just going to bump that up to 7, export. Under Breakdancers, let's do a new folder and call it Frames. And then we are going to call this D1, save. Okay, hide that layer. Command Option Shift W, bump that up to 7, export. D2, under Frames, save. Hide that layer. Command Shift Option W, bump that up to 7, export. D3, click save. And then I'm going to hide that layer. Command Option Shift W, bump that up to 7, export. D4, save. All right, go ahead and save this file. And we are just going to save it in the frames. We are going to call it set extension, and then click save. Save, okay. And now we are going to go back to After Effects. All right, so if you remember, we have our roto brushed layer, which is the dancer. And then we want to bring in our frames. So we are going to go to Frames, and then we are going to bring all of these in. Make sure that the import JPEG sequence is not selected. Otherwise, it's going to think that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 frames out of 24 frames. And that's not going to be good. So now that you have those 4 on there, go ahead and click and drag them onto, let's go ahead and put the dancer on top of that. Now that we have all these selected, let's go ahead and do, all right, now that I have 4 dragons, I think I want to double the amount of dragons. So I want to double the amount of frames that I have for the dragons. So I've gone back to Adobe Firefly, and I've already generated quite a few dragons. So let's see, I think I might like this one here. So let's go ahead and download that image. And then under dragons, I believe, yeah, let's go ahead and save that. And then go back to our history. And I liked, let's see, there's a few more dragons in here that I liked. Maybe in here. Let's go ahead and upscale these. I think, okay, now that we have these, let's go ahead and download this dragon. Yes. And let's download this dragon. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is fun. Let's go ahead and download this one as well. Perfect. Let's go back to Photoshop. Let's go and open the 4 additional dragons that we just downloaded. Let's bring them into here. And let's click enter, enter, and enter, and enter. And then grab all 4 of those. Hit Command T for transform. Hold down Option. That'll scale from the middle. And we want to be about there. What I'm looking at is this horizon line, just to make sure that it matches up with the rest of the dragons. Then we'll center it here, make it just a little bit smaller. And of course that bumped the horizon line a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're just gonna center that. And then I'm gonna click, and if you hold down Option, click and drag the mask, that'll just duplicate the mask, and we'll take those all the way up. Now that we have all the masks in place, we want to do Command Option Shift W, and that's going to be an export as. JPEG, and then again up to 7, export, and then frames. So this one we're just going to call D5, hide that, export this one, D6, hide that, export the next one, D7, hide that one, and then export the last one. Very cool. Let's go back into After Effects. Under our project panel, let's go ahead and double click and then bring in 5 through 8. Click open. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're going to put those underneath our D4. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, now let's go ahead and hide all of those except for the dancer. Under Effect Controls, let's go ahead and get rid of the roto brush for now. Let's just hide it. Don't delete it because we don't want to undo any of that work. Just hide it for now. And then we're going to right click on this layer and go to Track and Stabilize, Track Camera. And this is going to go through and analyze the footage. But before it does that, let's go ahead and click on Detailed Analysis. This is going to go through and analyze every frame of the footage. And then it's going to give you a time estimate as to how long that's going to take. As you can see there, it's working on frame 4. And it should just take a minute. It's not a very long clip. All right, now that it's done, you can see that the average error is 0.81. We want to be under 1 pixel, so that looks great. Let's go ahead and scrub through here, and you can see that most of these markers are just locked into place. So this is excellent, exactly what we want. All right, so let's go ahead and highlight probably most of these, and then let's right-click on the target, and we'll say Create Solid and Camera. Now, I've already drug in all our dragons here, but I'm actually going to delete those because what I want to do is go back into our project. I'm going to grab the first dragon and I'm going to drag it down into the new composition. And then I'm going to grab the rest of the dragons and then I'm also going to place them in there. And the reason I'm doing that is because now I'm going to select all of those. In this composition, the hamburger menu that's right here by the label, I'm going to go into composition settings and I'm going to make this 6 seconds, 0, 0. 6 seconds and 0 frames. Because now what I want to do is about every quarter of a second, I'm going to change that dragon image out. So you can see that I'm just clicking and dragging. And the way I'm deselecting that is I just hit Command and click on that bottom layer. Okay, now you can see that looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and go into here. The reason I wanted to make the dragons their own composition is because the image is going to be a little bit bigger than this. But what that's going to give us is the ability to motion track the footage. And now that we drag in our dragon composition, let's go ahead and make that 3D. And you'll see that this actually moves along with our footage here. Let's go ahead and hide the track solid. Let's get rid of that. And then let's bring our dancer back up to the top and let's reactivate the roto brush. And then the camera tracker we don't need anymore, so let's go ahead and take that off. We'll just toggle that down and you can kind of see what's going on here. Excellent. All right, now we're going to duplicate our dancer footage, and the one underneath, we're going to get rid of the roto brush. And then we're going to place that underneath the dragon layer. Now, double click your dragon layer. Now, with your dragon layer selected, we're going to draw a mask. So hit G for your pen tool. And then we're just going to draw a mask just like so. Then we're going to go up here and then come down. So this is what it's doing here. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit just so you guys see what's going on. All right, now with that mask selected, or with that layer selected, hit F for feather, and then we're going to feather that just a little bit. And now that we have our dancer down here, we've disabled the roto brush on the dancer underneath. What I wanted to do is bring back the shadow from his feet. Okay, let's go ahead and duplicate our dancer layer. You can do so by Command D, that'll duplicate it. And then under our effects controls, let's go ahead and clean this up just a little bit. Let's go ahead and leave the roto brush on there. The 3D camera tracker, we can get rid of. Lumetry, let's go ahead and leave on there. And then let's go ahead to our effects panel and search up cartoon. Let's throw that on there. Let's go ahead and change this over to edges. Let's change the radius over to 14. And then threshold, let's bump that down. Let's do 1.5. Edge enhancement, let's take that up. Let's bump up the edge black level. Let's do 0.5. Okay, now go back to your effects panel. Let's search for invert. Let's throw that on there. It's just going to invert it. Let's go ahead and go to tint. Let's throw this on here. And then let's make these lines. Let's go with the purple. And then just to see if I rotoscope it, let's change the mode to add. And then let's click the roto brush. Let's go ahead and pre-compose this. So Command Shift C to pre-compose. Dancer PC for pre-compose. And then let's move all the attributes into new composition. Click OK. And then double click on this. Let's grab, we should have done this before, but we can do it now. Let's go ahead and grab cartoon down to tint. Let's cut those out. Let's go back to Dancer PC, and then let's go ahead and paste them on there. So this should, give us that same effect, but now the reason I did that is because I want to add hold on. Let's go ahead and change the mode to add, and now we are going to add a echo effect. And the reason that wasn't going to work before is because the echo would have been rotoscoped, and so you wouldn't have seen the echo effect. But now that it's after the rotoscope, if we add an echo and we change the number of echoes to 4, that's maybe a little much. Let's go to 2. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, let's go ahead and hide that for a second and then go back to our dancer here. So let's collapse. Let's get rid of the camera. Hold on. Do I need the camera? Dancer. I don't think I need the camera. Okay, I think it's all looking pretty good. I think what I want to add is a adjustment layer. So let's go ahead and click new adjustment layer. And then under the adjustment layer, let's go ahead and bring in the effect vignette. Now you can see that the ground matches a little bit more with the background. And then let's also throw a lumetri color onto that. Go into our curves and then just a slight S curve again. And then under basic correction, let's go ahead and change the temperature just a little bit. That looks great. Let's go ahead and activate the dancer pre-compose. So this is going to be our echo here. And that looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and the last thing we want to do is just change the color of these echoes. Here at 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and activate the keyframe for the color on the map white 2. And then I'm going to move forward about a second. And then I'm going to change this to a orange. Click OK. And then I'm going to move forward another second. I'm going to change this to, let's go blue, but let's go light blue. Click OK. And then let's go forward another second. And let's go to bright yellow. Click OK. And then by the end of this, we want to be to, let's go back to pink. Why not? So now if you see this, now you can see our color shift here and our echoes. Lastly, I'm going to add just one more color layer adjustment to the entire thing. So I'm going to add a new solid, and under the color, I'm just going to pick something like this, for example. And then I'm going to change the mode to overlay. And then under this layer, I'm going to hit T for opacity, and I'm just going to take this down just to about 11. And then lumetri color, I'm going to add a lumetri color to this as well. And under the curves, I'm going to do yet another S curve. And then I'm also going to add in another vignette. And I'm going to throw that on there. Whoa, did I put on the wrong one? No, I don't think I did. Okay, let's go ahead and minimize those. And I think we have our final edit here. And there you go, guys. I know that was a long road, but essentially just to recap, what we did is we took the original dancer footage We rotoscoped him out using the rotoscope within After Effects. And then we took one of those frames, we brought it over into Photoshop, we got rid of the dancer, we made that kind of our blank slate. And then we took that into Adobe Firefly, we created some different backgrounds for the wall mural. And then we brought those backgrounds back into After Effects. We motion tracked everything so it all flowed together. And then we duplicated our dancer on top of all that footage. We gave him a cartoon effect just to draw out the lines. We gave him a tint effect to colorize those lines. And then we also gave him an echo to give him an animation style feel to him. Hopefully you guys like this tutorial. I had a lot of fun making it. There was a lot of trial and error. AI is still a really new tool that I'm still trying to learn. Hopefully you guys can learn along with me. I see a lot of potential in this tool, and hopefully you guys can see that too. I'll continue to throw out these tutorials, hopefully geared a little bit more towards AI. Again, that is a very powerful tool, and I think the more we can leverage that tool, the easier it's going to be for us and the better our work is going to become because of it. If you guys like the tutorial and you guys like this direction, please give the video a like. If you want to come back for more of these, subscribe to the channel. Every Friday I'm going to try to put out a new tutorial. Any comments would be appreciated on what you like to see, what you don't like to see. If I'm going too fast, there's too much detail, or if you just want to get kind of the overview of what I'm doing here, let me know as well. But as always, this is Julio, your motion sidekick, here to help you out on your motion side quest. I love you guys. Thank you for coming back, and I will see you next time. Peace.